The matchup between the LG Twins and the Hanwha Eagles on September 26 was not just another regular season game, it was a battle that carried the weight of momentum, confidence, and the pride of two fiercely loyal fan bases. Both teams came into the contest with something to prove, and for the spectators, it felt like playoff baseball even though the postseason hadn't yet arrived. From the very first pitch, there was tension in the air, but no one could have predicted just how much the seventh inning would change the entire narrative of the night. The game began with both pitchers establishing themselves quickly. LG's starter worked the corners, mixing fastballs with breaking balls, keeping Hanwha's hitters just enough off balance. On the other side, Hanwha's mound presence was strong, with their starter challenging LG hitters with an aggressive inside approach. The first few innings passed like a chess match, both teams searching for an opening while the crowd settled into the rhythm of the contest. By the time the fourth inning arrived, both dugouts were restless. Neither side had managed to push across more than a single run, and it was evident that the bullpens would eventually play a role in determining the outcome. For LG, the pressure was building to manufacture something with speed and smart base running, while Hanwha remained patient, waiting for the one mistake they could capitalize on. The Eagles, after all, had shown all season that they thrived when the game tightened up late. As the fifth inning rolled around, a few cracks began to show. LG got a runner into scoring position, only to see their opportunity wasted with a double play. The frustration on the LG bench was obvious, players slamming helmets and shaking their heads. Hanwha's pitcher pumped his fist, feeding off the momentum of every key out. Meanwhile, Hanwha's fans, who had traveled in numbers, raised their chants louder, sensing their team could swing the balance in their favor. Hanwha, however, had their own struggles. Their hitters were making contact but struggled to drive the ball into the gaps. A couple of loud outs to deep left and center drew groans from their side of the stadium. The LG outfielders made spectacular catches, denying Hanwha of what looked like potential extra base hits. The tension only grew as both sides realized the margin for error was razor thin. The sixth inning offered a glimpse of what was to come. LG threatened once again, loading the bases after a walk, a bloop single, and a sharp grounder mishandled by Hanwha's third baseman. It looked like the Twins were ready to break it wide open. But just when the moment seemed destined for LG, Hanwha's reliever entered and forced a weak grounder back to the mound to end the rally. The stadium roared with a mix of relief and frustration. For LG, it felt like a missed opportunity that might come back to haunt them. For Hanwha, it was the spark they needed. And then came the seventh inning, the defining moment of the night. Hanwha came to bat in the bottom half, the score still locked, tension as thick as the late summer air. The first batter worked a walk, immediately energizing the dugout. The crowd knew something was brewing. LG's pitcher looked shaken, taking extra time between pitches, wiping sweat from his brow. Every movement suggested he understood the magnitude of the situation. Hanwha's next hitter squared to bunt, perfectly executing a sacrifice to move the runner into scoring position. It was textbook baseball, but it felt monumental given the context of the game. LG's infielders huddled briefly, aware that even a single well-placed hit could change everything. The pressure now rested heavily on the shoulders of LG's pitcher, who had been so reliable earlier but now seemed to be unraveling in real time. With one out and a runner on second, Hanwha sent up one of their most trusted contact hitters. The at-bat was a battle, with foul ball after foul ball extending the plate appearance. Each pitch raised the intensity, the crowd clapping in rhythm. Finally, on a 2-2 count, the batter lined a sharp single into right field. The runner rounded third, and the throw from the outfield came in late. Hanwha had taken the lead, and the dugout exploded in celebration. It was the moment they had been waiting for all night. But the inning wasn't over yet. Riding the momentum, Hanwha's cleanup hitter stepped in, and LG's manager decided to stick with his pitcher. It proved costly. On the very first pitch, a hanging slider stayed over the plate, and the ball was crushed into the gap in left center for a 2-run double. The Hanwha fans erupted, waving banners and screaming as their team extended the lead. In just a matter of minutes, the game had completely flipped. LG's defense tried to regroup, but the damage was already spiraling. Hanwha continued pressing, refusing to let up. Another single brought home an additional run, capping off a 4-run 7th inning that sent shockwaves through the stadium. What had been a tense pitcher's duel suddenly transformed into a game defined by one team's resilience and opportunism. The Eagles had seized their moment with ruthless efficiency. On the LG bench, silence replaced chatter. Players stared blankly, some pacing, others sitting stone-faced, unable to process how quickly the game had slipped from the grasp. Their fans, who had been so loud earlier, were stunned into near silence. The contrast with Hanwha's jubilant side of the stands was striking, two different worlds existing in the same ballpark. As the 8th inning began, LG tried desperately to respond. A leadoff double sparked a glimmer of hope. The Twins' dugout came alive briefly, cheering every pitch, urging their hitter to keep the rally going. But once again, Hanwha's bullpen rose to the challenge. A strikeout, a pop fly, and a routine ground ball ended the inning with no damage done. The Eagles' relievers were feeding off the energy, executing pitches with precision and confidence. Hanwha's offense, meanwhile, continued applying pressure in their half of the 8th. Although they didn't add to the lead, they forced LG to burn through more of their bullpen, ensuring their opponent had little left in reserve for a potential comeback. Every pitch thrown by LG in those final innings seemed heavier, as though the weight of the 7th inning collapse lingered in their minds. By the time the 9th inning rolled around, the game felt decided. LG still had 3 outs to work with, but the energy just wasn't there. Hanwha's closer took the mound to a thunderous ovation, pumping fastballs past hitters who seemed a step slow. The first out came on a strikeout, the second on a weak grounder to short. LG's final hope rested on the veteran slugger, but even he couldn't muster a miracle. A high fly ball to center field ended it, and Hanwha's players stormed the field in celebration. The post-game reactions told the story of the night. Hanwha's manager praised his team's resilience, pointing to the 7th inning as the embodiment of their fighting spirit. He emphasized how important it was to take advantage of opportunities, something his players executed to perfection. The locker room was filled with smiles, laughter, and a sense of unity that could carry them deep into the final stretch of the season. On the other side, LG's manager had a different tone. His post-game comments reflected disappointment, not only in the execution during the 7th but also in the wasted opportunities earlier in the game. He knew his team had let one slip away, and with the standings as tight as they were, such losses could prove costly. The players shared the frustration, many declining interviews as they left the stadium quietly. For Hanwha's fans, this game was more than just a victory. It was a validation of their belief in the team's growth this season. The 7th inning would be remembered not just for the runs scored, but for the heart and determination that defined the Eagles' approach. It was the kind of moment that fans replay in their minds for weeks, a highlight that stands out even in a long season. For LG, the night served as a painful reminder of baseball's cruel unpredictability. One inning of missteps can undo hours of hard work, and momentum, once lost, is difficult to regain. But the Twins also knew that baseball always offers another chance, another game to right the wrongs of the past. The question was whether they would respond with fire or crumble under the weight of disappointment. As analysts reviewed the game, the consensus was clear: the 7th inning was a masterpiece of situational baseball by Hanwha. They executed the fundamentals: walking, bunting, hitting to the opposite field, before delivering the big hit that broke the game open. It was a lesson in patience and timing, showing that not every victory comes from power alone, but from discipline and seizing the right moment. The highlight reels captured the essence perfectly: the leadoff walk, the perfectly placed bunt, the clutch single, and the roaring double that sealed LG's fate. Each play built upon the last, a sequence that demonstrated how quickly the tide can turn when pressure mounts and a team refuses to blink. For fans watching at home, it was must-see television, a reminder of why they love the sport. The seventh inning didn't just decide the game, it redefined the atmosphere of the season. Hanwha, often viewed as underdogs in the league, proved they could rise in the biggest moments. The victory injected confidence into their clubhouse and ignited belief among their fans that a strong finish was possible. Meanwhile, LG faced tough questions about their ability to close out tight games, something they would need to address if they hoped to compete at the highest level. This game will likely be remembered as one of the pivotal matchups of the late-season stretch. Not because of a walk-off homer or a dramatic error, but because of a single inning where one team executed flawlessly and the other faltered. It was a reminder that baseball is as much about mental toughness as it is about physical talent. Hanwha proved they had both on this night. Even days later, the buzz around the game lingered. Sports shows replayed the highlights, fans debated the managerial decisions, and analysts dissected every pitch of that seventh inning. The game had become a talking point far beyond the box score, a symbol of momentum shifts that define a season. And for those who witnessed it live, it was a night they wouldn't soon forget. In the end, the September 26th clash between LG and Hanwha wasn't just about one win or loss, it was about the drama that makes baseball timeless. It was about the seventh inning, where discipline met opportunity, where the Eagles soared, and where the Twins were left searching for answers. That one frame of baseball defined the night, and perhaps, will influence the direction of both teams moving forward.